Welcome back to another episode of the Mind State Podcast. Today, my guest is Gary Sellergren. He is a mindset coach focused on helping people achieve what he calls a champion mindset. He also has deep interests in longevity, anti-aging, things like that. There's a broad scope here. We're going to mostly be narrowed in on those things. And without further ado, Gary, thanks for being here, my man.
Thank you, Danny. It's a pleasure.
So, I think I'd like to start a little bit with your story and to paint the picture of what got you into mindset coaching. Yes. And maybe even if, to whatever degree you feel comfortable sharing your own challenges that made you realize like, okay, I need to up my mindset, so to speak.
Sure. Yeah, let me make it as brief as possible.
Sure.
About 12 years ago, I moved here to Austin to have a fresh start. And this was after a second divorce. So, yeah, there's some failings there. And so I thought, hey, I'm happy. I'm away from the situation. I'm, several states away now. I'm going to start brand new. And I thought I was really happy. I said, I'm in a good place with mind and body, right?
Yeah.
And so I even wrote a men's happiness book that was about 45 pages. I was going to publish it.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, yeah, I'll help all kinds of men. And then I sat back and I said, well, I better make sure I am actually happy. And guess what? I wasn't.
Okay.
So what was missing is I didn't even look at my spiritual side. There's people that are out there agnostics or they don't have a belief in God, but they may have some beliefs in general. And I wasn't really even looking at my belief system. And so what I've come to understand, there's a balance that is needed for everybody in mind, body, and soul. And that soul is that belief system. So when I finally acknowledged that, it set me out on a journey to really understand myself. And at the time, if I would have rated myself a 1 to 10 in mind and body, I'd say I was a 7 or an 8, okay, maybe even a 9. But when I looked back at it retrospectively and I went on this journey, I was at like a 2 or a 3 in both categories. It was amazing at how much I had delusions of what happiness was. Mm-hmm. And so I set out and I started to understand how the ego played in my life, how my soul played in my life. And I started to go to some church discussion groups and things like that started to open me up slowly because I was super conservative. I was as square as it came when it was, when we talked about spirituality or being open-mindedness. So then as things progressed, I started to then understand what happiness was and start to, progress in understanding my mind, understanding my triggers, understanding my fears, and, past PTSDs and things like that. So as I progressed, and during all this time, I didn't go to any therapists. Okay. I had been to many therapists in the past, relationship therapists, personal therapists, all over the place, because, divorce is a serious thing. And my second marriage, I thought it was forever, and I was really upset about it. So, but during this self-discovery phase, I started to have all kinds of events that, I went to certain seminars that had life-changing things. I read certain books. I had mentors as well. And as I progressed, I got to a certain point where I was kind of at a plateau, and maybe I was like at a 7 for all these things. I finally got to 7s, where a legitimate 7 for mind and body and spirit. And I was like kind of stuck. Uh-huh. And then I couldn't breathe at one point. I had a health scare. And I couldn't dream. I wasn't dreaming. I wasn't sleeping. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have still not figured out how to be happy, and I might die. I thought I was dying. I really did.
How long ago was that?
About 4 years ago.
Yikes.
And so I said, you know what? If I'm, there's nothing that matters anymore. I'm throwing everything out the window. I don't care who it is, what they say, how they picture me, what they say about me. It doesn't matter. I'm not listening to anybody. I'm going to listen to myself.
Wow.
And I started to become an independent thinker because I'm like, I'm going to figure out how to be happy. I would have fleeting moments of happiness, and then somebody would say something, and I would get off track. Mm-hmm. And I'd be triggered. And I was like, they're forcing me to be unhappy. That's not fair. And then I was like, nope. I came to understand by talking to some people, talking to my mentors, that it's you that has the total control of how you perceive your world. And I started to think differently. And I was like, wow, I could actually think differently, and I could actually not have outside people influence me. And so it started down a path when I said, I'm going to figure out how to be happy. And then I just, one day I was like, you know what? I can't truly be happy unless I unconditionally love myself. And that was like what got me closer to like a 9 in terms of my mind and body and spirit. It was amazing. And that is one of the rarest qualities I've seen in the people that I work with. And that's what I hope to achieve with the champion mindset and helping other people achieve that champion mindset.
And unconditional love being like that big goal that
Yeah, that's
it all.
a big goal because it's interdependent with 2 other things that I have come to understand. And the end goal is having total self-awareness and being able to be present.
Yeah.
And so being present, obviously, is you're not worried about how you're treated in the past. You're not worried about what's going to happen in the future. You are with the person. I'm with you right now, Danny.
Yeah.
I can lift this bottle of water right here. This is what I can do right now. I can't do it in the past. I can't do it in the future. But I know I can do it right now. And all your magic is in the present. If you can figure out how to be fully in the present, that's when you can really make things happen. And if you're self-aware of what your triggers are and what, is influencing you, because our unconscious mind is seeing so many things and feeling so many things, hearing so many things, tasting some, whatever, all the senses, right? And even a 6th sense, if you believe that. So you got to understand, and you got to have, and you can achieve a sovereignty over yourself, a calmness, no matter the hurricane around you. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, that unconditional love is really a rare thing that's hard for people to understand, but it's connected to letting go of fear, shame, and guilt and replacing it with love, forgiveness, and grace. Okay. Once you start to do that in the love, forgiveness, and grace for yourself, it's so much easier not to judge other people. It's so much easier to find people who are like-minded that really do care about you, and that can also give you back that non-judgment and that support and that love and that grace and that forgiveness.
Yeah.
And so what happens, and I found out that it's very clear line. You are either in an ego state or in a soul state. Your ego state is all the conditioning that's gone through your whole life, and all the fears and the guilt and the shame and everything. It's all conditioning. We were born not with those things. We learned all of those things, which means if we learn them, we can unlearn them.
Yeah.
Soul connection, you're soul connected with whatever you believe is out there, whether it be God or whether it be Buddha or whatever it is. You're soul connected when you're feeling love, forgiveness, and grace. Mm-hmm. And if you can forgive yourself for past indiscretions, bad judgment, divorces, saying mean things, you can move forward, and you can, in the present, you can be such a better person. You can be your best version of yourself.
I love that. You mentioned when about 4 years ago when you had this health scare, you kind of decided to just throw it all out and tell yourself, I'm not going to worry what anybody thinks about me. I'm going to entertain whatever idea can help me. And that caught my attention, like this idea of shifting from external validation to internal validation. I'd love to hear you talk a little bit more about that specifically and what that process was like for you.
Yeah, your external validation is based on your ego. I love it. I still play baseball, and, recently I had a hit off of a former major leaguer. That's all ego. That doesn't mean anything important in the scheme of things. But yeah, I played with my ego, so I had fun.
Yeah.
If I was struck out, I've been like, oh, well, that's my ego, right? So the external validation is one thing, right? We love to be praised at work, and we love that, our significant other says that we're great. Mm-hmm. And so that feels good. We have to understand what our self-worth is underneath. And we have to have our own value system knowing, that we are, the best version of ourselves. So what I do is I present the best version of myself at all times. Then it doesn't matter what anybody says. I know that I'm at my best version. I can't perform. I can't be an Olympic star, and I can't, and I may not, build a rocket ship, but I know that I am my best version right now. And so I can't be something that I don't have the potential to be. But being my best version, then that self-validates me internally, and I know and I feel good about that. And say that I had 10 things I had to do today and I got 5 done. I don't beat myself up for the 5 things I didn't get done. I celebrate the 5 things that I did do, that actually did get done, because I still was at my best version.
Yeah.
And whatever day, maybe I didn't have, the energy that day, or maybe something came up, I couldn't get the 5 other things done. So I forgive myself. And that ability to let those things go just clears your mind, clears everything. And when your mind is clear, your body will respond in sync with that. If your mind has a conflict, it's going to punish the body.
Why do you suppose people, because I do the same thing, and it's something I've encountered a lot with friends or people I'm talking to, where we do something great. I was just talking to a friend last night. He was telling me that on his birthday last year, he ran 30 miles, like straight. And he's not built like a runner. Like he's like a big, like tough guy. And he said as soon as he got done, his dad was like, man, great job. I'm proud of you. And he immediately shifted to how he could have done it better. He should have ran it faster. And you mentioned how you have a list of 10 things. You only get 5 done. Why do you suppose, where does this come from, where we focus on what we missed, what we did wrong, how we could have done it better?
Yeah, a lot of it's all conditioning. We were brought up be competitive in many cases. My dad taught me to be ultra competitive in baseball. And so I have a similar story, if you mind if I share it.
Let's hear it.
So I was the best little league player at 10 years old.
Okay.
In the league. I hit over 600. The second best hit 500.
Dang.
I had a bunch of homers. I was 10-0. I had no hitters. I was really phenomenal little leaguer, right? And one day I was 4 for 5. I had a triple, a homer, and 2 other hits, right?
Dang.
And my dad came to me and said, well, how do you think you could have got a hit that 5th time? Now, go fast forward my whole life. I have that type of feeling. I got to do it better, right? I can never be happy about what I've accomplished. So I'm an adult, and I'm playing 12-inch softball.
Okay.
And, we're having fun. There's people hitting a lot of home runs and things like that. Somebody hit 4 home runs in a game.
Dang.
And so I was like, I'm going to go for it, man. My coach was doing write-ups and stuff. We were having a lot of fun. I was playing in the Chicago Social League. And so I have 4 home runs in a row, right? And I have a chance to have a 5th. I can tell you for a fact that if I didn't get that 5th home run, I would have been very upset. I wouldn't have cared about the 4 home runs. That's how ridiculous my mind was working. I did get the 5th home run.
All right.
Okay? But I'm just saying, this is how we don't celebrate what we actually do, and we beat ourselves up if we don't get to that 99th percentile.
And it sounds like at least part of that programming came from your dad teaching you that to be super competitive.
Right.
And I guess the next question in my mind then is, on the one hand, I understand the value of always striving to be greater, to get it even a little bit better. I think that's why as humans, we build houses and cities and all this stuff. We couldn't get here if we were satisfied with how good things already were. So there's there's a nice side to it. And yet there's this aspect of struggling and not honoring or appreciating our accomplishments. And coming at this from the parent's perspective, I wonder how I can strike that balance with my own daughters. Like, how can I, encourage that striving for more, but I want them to be happy in the moment and appreciate their accomplishments as they are.
Yeah, that is a delicate balance. And so, it's an interesting question. I gotta really think about that one. For me personally, that's the first thing I can go to is that it hasn't diluted my ambition. If opportunities come about, I'm a hard worker. I like to work hard, and I will follow through on any opportunity that presents itself. I do operations consulting. I do the mindset coaching.
Yeah.
And if the opportunities are there, I work hard and I make sure that I do what I need to do. I show up as the best version of myself, and I have a clear mind. And I don't believe in participation awards, just like what you're saying. I believe that we should continue to try to do it better, but if we don't do it better, that we can give ourselves grace and forgiveness. So I think we should talk about how to be better every step of the way. As your children get older, they get stronger, they can hone their mental abilities, they can hone their physical abilities. So you want to see where their potential is. And I think it's, if I was to, put it in a nutshell, I'd say it's continue to strive for your potential. And, I personally keep testing the fence like the T-Rex because I keep trying to find out what can my body do. I'm over 60 years old now, and I'm very active, and I don't look 60. And this is not cosmetic surgery or anything. People say, "Oh, don't be in the sun, and it'll ruin your skin," right? I can tell you, I am the sun more than anybody, and I don't use sunblock. Warning, I'm going to be, I've told people they'll dismiss me if I talk about not using sunblock. I'm not saying don't use sunblock.
Sure.
I'm saying do what resonates with you, what makes sense for you. And not everything that research says or science says is the right thing for you. You got to find out what, basically, we use the term what resonates. But if you are really in tune with your body, then you can find out what is healthy for your body. If you're really in tune with your mind, you can find out what's healthy for your mind. If you're really in tune with your spiritual side, you can find out what's healthy with that. Yeah. So that was kind of a very long
That's okay.
answer to that's a very tough question, though, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, it sounds like hearing your reflection on it and thinking about it further, it almost feels like maybe part of the answer is that the two aren't at odds. We don't have to either feel good about what we've accomplished or always strive for more. There's somewhere we can get a little bit of both. And in life, I guess, it's just practice and striking that own balance for ourselves.
Yeah, the biggest, if I might interject, the biggest thing that I learned on my journey was I would never celebrate until I reached the goal. Now I celebrate every step of the progress.
Right.
And I would encourage that. Just, throw yourself a party. You went to the next step. Okay,
Yeah.
Great. And you're moving forward. Give yourself kudos for that. But if I hadn't got that fifth home run, I couldn't have celebrated with that mindset.
At that point in your life.
Uh-huh.
What if the same thing happened today, same experience, and you didn't hit the fifth home run? How would you deal with it differently today?
I would spend, about 5 minutes figuring out how the heck could I have hit that fifth home run? What was it? Was I tired? Did somebody get in my head? Did I swing at the wrong pitch? I would have analyzed it, frontwards and backwards, because that's what I did. I used to have an OCD mind. I cut that string. I used to play things literally 1,000 times over. Now this is not through drugs. This is not through a therapist. This is through my own self, kind of cutting that thing. And so now, if I was to go through it right now, I would have said, oh man, 4 home runs, that is freaking awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe I'll have an opportunity to do it again, but I'm okay with it. I can move on. I can be on my deathbed and not have, and not say, oh my gosh, I have regrets.
Yeah.
And that's what the key is too, is that what I'm doing now is you get to a point, if you have a champion mindset, that you don't have a fear of dying because you know you're always at your best version, and you know that you don't have any regrets. I don't have the fear. I have addressed everything in my life that needs to be addressed, whether it be mom issues, which were significant in my life, some dad issues, and I've had relationships and things like that. But I've addressed everything, including phobias, and so. If I died right now, I would not have a regret. I'd be okay with it.
Yeah. That's a powerful, place to be working from in life. What do you suppose? Is it purely mindset, or have you focused on like this, what is it, memento mori, this stoicism idea of like contemplating death? What are things you do to get to where you're more comfortable with that?
Yeah, I don't know so much about stoicism. I know that it is, it's a ability to, have your emotions in check and that sort of thing. But I would say to be able to do that, it's really the release of the fear and the shame and guilt, because so many times, within some of the religions, you have a fear of going to hell. Because you're not a good person, and you didn't do these things and those things and that sort. But once you understand you are always at your best version of yourself, it's like, how could I be any better than that? Yeah. How could I be a better person? How could I do more for society? How could I help them? And I know that you also know what your purpose is once you have a champion mindset. You know exactly who you are. And so my purpose is to help heal more people and heal one person at a time. I wake up every morning, and how am I going to go forward in helping more people?
Right.
And so this makes total sense to be on this podcast with you, Danny, because this is an opportunity to reach more people, to let them know that I exist.
Totally.
So if this
share your ideas.
Podcast resonates with them, I'm happy to help anybody who looks me up.
For sure.
And
man.
Sometimes and I'm rambling, I know. Is that okay?
Fine.
So a lot of people who are out there healing in the healing community, I talk to people that are out there, a lot of them are called light workers.
Okay.
Because where light exists, darkness cannot exist, right? You cannot have darkness if there's light. And so the light workers want to heal people. They want to make the world a better place. And I believe that the brighter that the light workers shine, they're going to be attacked at times too. So this is why I want to help as many people that are light workers as possible, to help build them up, make them stronger as well.
Yeah. You mentioned purpose there, and that is something that I've been fascinated by really for several years now, but it seems like I'm really sort of circling around that and being quite obsessed with it almost. Let's talk through how, let's say you're in a situation with a client and purpose is what they want to focus on. Yeah. What are the tools to help somebody get there? Because oftentimes I feel like I'm getting closer to knowing what my purpose is, but for a long time I was so frustrated because I couldn't even define it. I was like, if I could just know, then I could start working at it. But I just didn't have the confidence. So let's say starting there, how does one begin to discover purpose when it feels so nebulous?
Yeah, what you need to do again is have that self-validation. You need to listen to yourself. Our purpose so many times are told to us by parents, by leaders. This is who you are. This is who I see you becoming. This is your strengths.
Right.
We need to independently find out what our strengths are. We need to independently come into terms with what our passions are. And so it helped me to put together a passions list. I have so many interests. And so it was really hard to prioritize what those passions were.
Yeah, definitely.
And so I was like, no, I like playing cards, or, I like playing baseball, and that's higher than this. And what it came to be is that I love healing. I love helping people. I help see a different way of thinking to move forward, to find their purpose.
Yeah.
And so that was at the number one. And you have the ability to do that once you stop looking for external validation. Stop looking for somebody to tell you what your purpose is, to tell you what your strengths are. Start doing self-evaluations. We have all kinds of personality tests, right? That'll tell us a little bit about more of who we are.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of self-tests that are free online that'll talk about what your strengths are. You answer questions and it'll say, oh, these are your strengths.
Yeah.
And then putting your passions in a list and finding out what really makes you, gets you excited. What naturally gets you excited. Not what your dad told you to do. Like, for instance, I grew up, my identity was I was supposed to be a professional baseball player. My dad, he was a builder. He really didn't teach me anything else. He didn't teach me anything else about building or...
Really? Wow.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't even know how to use a power tool.
It was all baseball.
It was
all the
all
time.
baseball, and I couldn't play football because I had to be a professional baseball player.
Wow.
So I did get a scholarship at a Division I, and then we had family problems, and I just mentally I was losing it, and so I quit baseball after 2 years. And because I felt like it was what my parents wanted me to do, I feel like I didn't have a decision. And of course, when I quit baseball, I was kind of like ostracized. So it even was, a double hit. And so I even felt worse. So, having recovered, and then I stopped playing baseball for how many years? I think, 16, 17 years I stopped playing baseball. I played softball, but then on my own terms, I fell in love with baseball again.
Yeah.
At age 40.
Nice.
So, and it was on my terms. And then I remember my brother, who was also, my dad had to coach me every year when I was in Little League. Now my brother had to coach me in Legion ball, which was, in my later teens. I always had this control over me.
Yeah.
And so I finally, got rid of that. And I remember when I started playing on my own terms, I was really successful. And I was like, I think I was 10-1 at one time. And my brother's like, well, how could you have won that other game? I'm like, all right, later, dude.
Yeah. Man, so much is coming up for me when I hear you talk about this. One, this shift from external validation to internal. And it reminds me of a question that I just learned this maybe 3 weeks ago on this call that I do with a group of guys. And on this topic of finding purpose, asking yourself the question, would I still want to do this if nobody ever found out about it? To kind of help identify, am I doing this so that people think I'm cool?
Yeah.
Or not?
That's a great.
Yeah, I love that one.
Because we want recognition, and we want to think, oh yeah, we want to be popular,
And it doesn't mean that you can't ultimately decide, I still want to do this, but it helps you kind of see another perspective on it. How much of this is because of what people will think of me? And, maybe there is a chunk of it. But if you internally really feel well, this is still important to me, and I would actually do it even if nobody ever knew about it, or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
Let's see here.
That's a great question. Because, truly, would I love to be like Tony Robbins and famous? And I would accept that.
Yeah.
I would not have a problem with that. And because it means I could reach more people.
Yeah.
And if I didn't have the opportunity to be famous, I would be fine with that. But you're right. I think ego wants you to be famous. Ego says, I want everybody and my friends to be proud of me. But it's that soul connection that really, in the end, is the fulfilling part.
Yeah, that's what we got to get at. A few more. I'll share a few more questions that I came up with on a walk I was taking the other day. So there's that one. Would I still want to do this if nobody ever found out about it? And is my interest in this particular one because I think it can work? So like, am I playing small?
Ah,
Let's see.
yeah, that's a good one too.
Yeah, it really helps get it.
Yeah, let's take the easy, the low hanging fruit.
Right. Like, am I doing this because like it'll probably work?
Yeah.
Or is it because another one. Sometimes it's like, oh, I'd love to do that, but like, dude, it's going to take me years to develop the aptitude of the skill. And so
Yeah.
would I like this idea more if I could just have the skill? And if so, it's like, oh, well, then maybe you got to be careful with that one,
Yeah.
because there's some skills that you just simply can't acquire. I'm not going to be a professional jiu-jitsu athlete. Love jiu-jitsu, just not happening.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I love these little shifts to come at it from different angles, because I often would get stuck with that same thing you're talking about, where I list all the things I'm into or I like or that I'm already working on. And as I get into it, I often forget one. As I go through the list in my head, I'm like, God, I know that I'm missing one, which tells me there's too many options here, bro.
Yeah,
You got to
yeah.
hone in on something.
Right. Yeah.
But let's see. I want to go a different direction because I had this question I thought of leading up to our talk today. And here, let me try to set it up for you. There's kind of two perspectives on how a man should be. There's the one, he should be stoic, firm, nothing bothers him, nothing can touch him. And then the other side of the equation, so to speak, is coming more into commonality now, where it's like, no, even men need to experience their emotions and know where things are coming from and have a sense of what emotions feel like, not just be disconnected from them. I'm curious your perspective on that, and it is a spectrum.
Yeah.
But just with that setup, where would you take that?
That's a really good question. This is something that I struggled with initially when I came to Texas too. And I was always brought up to be the tough guy, and I would say, because of my family problems, I really kind of didn't get in touch with my emotions. Actually, because I was so unhappy during high school, my nickname was Stoneface.
Wow.
Because I just hid my emotions. I would be happy, wouldn't be sad. I was just stoic or stone faced. And so, my emotions were retarded in a sense. They didn't mature. And so I was, very socially awkward, and happened with relationships, whether it be female or male. And I'm a heterosexual, just to, clarify. But as I went forward, I was like, man, men just can't show their emotions. I mean, I couldn't cry around my mother, or I couldn't show weakness around my mother.
Ah, okay.
And so that was a big problem. It seems like she would jump on me, yet my sister was like emotionally all over the place, and she was nurtured.
Wow.
And so, I was really confused when I got older. And so I think I would say in terms of, I do work with both men and women equally, and had great transformations with both of them, both sides, for all kinds of past things, trauma or addictions or whatever it is, anxiety disorders. And men are just as sensitive as women. They are just as emotional as women. Mm-hmm. And this is something that fellow men need to understand about us, that we do need nurturing, we do need support. And I think it's starting to come about where there are more men's groups.
Yeah.
And so I've been to a couple of them, and you can go and there's no judgment.
Right.
We talk about, one guy has had a brain tumor. One guy has had several friends who have committed suicide. We talk about marriages that, we're having struggles with, or guys are actually getting a divorce and starting out as single. And there's no criticism there. There's no bashing any sort of anybody. We're just talking about it. We're getting it out in the open, and we're talking about it. And you're not allowed to respond to the person when they're talking. They can just talk about their story, and then you can go and give them support and talk about it separately afterwards. And those are very cathartic, very therapeutic for men to understand they have an outlet to go, and they can make friends with people there that are understanding and non-judgmental. And the days of, hey, suck it up, bro, that I don't care who you are. If you're, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, or you're some guy, an engineer or whatever. I'm just saying that we all need that support. We all need that understanding, and all need to recognize that we have emotions and that we can work through things.
Yeah, it seems so often that just saying something out loud against other men, or with other men who are willing to listen and not judge, all by itself sometimes is enough healing right there.
Yeah.
The other thing I wanted to say about this was, what was it? It'll come back to me. Well, I'll talk about something else, and then it'll come back to me. So, oh man, what was it?
Oh, I'll say something.
Yeah, please do.
So, we're in an age of AI, right? And so I thought it was interesting as all these advances happen. And just the other day I saw a driverless car, and I was like, holy, the machines are taking over. I was like, this is like Terminator all over. I was like, okay, what are those qualities that machines will never take over that are truly human? And it's the empathy, it's the human connection, it's the energy that we feel together. And so those groups, that is what a machine can't do. Yeah, you can get on chat and it can give you guidelines and how you should talk to somebody or how you should figure out a relationship, but that ability to be human is something that will never be replaced. It can be faked by a machine, and at some point 10 years or more in the future we'll all have a robot around like Rosie the robot. I don't know if it'll look like machine or a person, but we're gonna all have that, our personal robots in our households. It's gonna happen.
That'll be wild. Some good movies that play with that idea. What I was thinking about is, so originally I asked the question, we have the spectrum of, suck it up, deal with it, be a stone face, whatever the case may be, and, really embrace your emotions, talk about them. For a long time, I was more of that stone face. Like my wife would call me ice heart because I just couldn't, I wouldn't be emotionally affected by things. And for the longest time, I really looked at it as a superpower. I was like, I don't get, thrown off. I can handle anything, no matter, like, people would die, and I would be the one to be like, okay, like, what needs to happen? How do we handle this? And then in the last, probably about 5 years ago, it started to occur to me, like, this is only a superpower if I can modulate it. And it was just like stuck, like the dial was stuck to off. And that's how I like to think about it now, is there are times where it's valuable to just like turn emotion off, be like, I got to handle the situation. There's something dangerous happening.
Yes.
We can be emotional about this later, but right now we need to get out of the situation, and we need to help that person, or whatever the case may be. And
I love that.
Later that night, I need to maybe turn it on and be like, dude, that was messed up. I was actually scared now that I think about it. And it makes me think of today's September 11th, and yesterday Charlie Kirk was assassinated.
Yeah, that was sad.
And it really affected me. I mean, as you would expect, but I think if that had happened, a similar situation 5 years ago, I'm not sure I would have been really able to feel it as much. But I found out my wife and kids got home, and I was just like, my wife's like, what's going on, man? You seem like. Anyways, bring that up to say that I like to think of this as a dial that we can turn. And we have to have control and access to that dial. Otherwise, we're missing out on a lot of life.
And so I want to clarify, I'm non-judgmental, and so any type of violence like that is something that I want the world to handle things without violence. And so I'm not going to, relay my political
let's not
my political stance at all, because I want to. It doesn't matter when I work with people to help them. It's important if they want to explain it and have me understand if it's something that's important to them. But like my own view, it doesn't matter whatsoever.
Sure.
But with what happened in the news and any form of violence, yes, you want to understand and let the grieving process take place. Some people need to have grieving take longer than others.
Sure.
But what we want to understand is when we're in check with ourselves and we are in control of our emotions, that grieving, we will know when that grieving comes to an end, and we won't prolong it. What happens a lot is that we become victims. And when we're victims, then we say we don't have control over ourselves. And the only control you have is over yourself.
Yeah, period.
Somebody can't make you feel sad. You can't make me feel angry. I only can do that. If you have sovereignty over yourself, you have that control. And so that was something that was a hard lesson for me to understand. As my mom, couldn't make me feel sad.
Right.
I was allowing myself to feel sad. And so I can make a different choice, and I can allow myself to feel happy.
Yeah. Let's dig into your work as, working with people to develop a champion mindset. And so you kind of have 3 pillars that you really mind, body, and soul. Let's talk through, let's say, an intro call or meeting with somebody. What are the things that you're going to try to get at to identify, the type of mindset shifts that they need to make?
Yeah. So what I wanted to find out initially is I want to find out who they are. How's their day going? Most people are feeling people, but I also want to understand, does something have to sound right? Does something have to, look right? And so I try to understand that from that perspective and get to know who they are. And so I do I try to do like a mind meld with them. I try to become them in a sense, so I can understand how they see the world, what are their triggers and that sort of thing. And then I try to help them get clarity on what is their outcome that they really want. And so if they're not clear about it, I keep asking questions so that I can become more clear. And I believe that, I'm a Christian, but that doesn't matter. I've helped transform Buddhists and other people on other religions, but I do believe that the Holy Spirit is helping me intuitively help people see their pathway towards their healing. Yeah. And so I'll keep asking clarifying questions so that we can get a total idea of what their outcome, what they really want. And so from that perspective, then, once you identify, that's always a first step in making a change, right? You have to get awareness of
where you want to go.
Totally. Right? You have to have awareness of what's happening to make that change. And so when you get that awareness, then that's the first step, and that we can use that as a building block.
So let's dig into that more, because like I mentioned earlier with purpose, sometimes that is hard to get clear on. Yeah. And people just know, they have the awareness to know something's not right. Like, I know I want something more than what I have. Right. How can we hone in on that a little bit to get more clear for the person who's a little confused and says, I don't know what I want, or maybe they want too many things.
Yeah. So again, I'll ask them more questions like about their passion. Like you said, you weren't clear on your purpose, Danny. And so I'll say, okay, well, do you like to play the guitar? Is that something you like to do? Or what do you like to do when you have free time? What have you done that you've been most proud of in your work activities? Is family important to you? And so I'll get an idea of what's really important and fulfilling for the person, and we'll go down that pathway to get more.
Gotcha. Yeah, and hone in on it from there. It sounds like intuition is a big part of this.
Oh yeah.
And it sounds like you at least either define that with Holy Spirit or channel it through that. What are the ways that people can really tune into intuition themselves more?
Yeah, that's really good, because that's where I really want to get to people, because when you're really in sync with your intuition, that's when you have that champion mindset. And what that means is that's basically you're cleaning out your cluttered closet. You're doing a spring cleaning. You're getting rid of things that don't serve you any longer. And so working together, I help you figure out what is no longer healthy for you or what doesn't serve you any longer. And when you have that uncluttered mind, then you know exactly intuitively what's healthy for you, what resonates. And you can do that when you meet friends, you can do that when you have activities, you can do that when, with whoever you are, or even programs you watch on TV. It's like, is that in tune with who I am? Because now I really know myself well. I've really cleaned up all the clutter in my head. I've taken out the conflicts. I no longer think I'm a bad person. I'm like, okay, I know that I'm this person. I accept that I am this person.
Yeah.
And then you can really have that intuitive nature to continue to practice, and also things that you can achieve is like a discernment. What I really do, I can feel imbalances. So if somebody is talking about themselves, I can feel like, are they really being authentic? Authentic to themselves, to others. And so I can ask clarifying questions based on that too.
Yeah, definitely. How do you I'm personally interested in this, that moment of challenge where you sense that there's something more there. Is it a person by person thing, or like, what's a technique maybe that you like to use to lean into that and really challenge somebody?
Yeah, it's always going to ask some questions. It's going to be, well, is that what you really mean, or is there more to that? Is, if you had this situation, would you do this because of that? So it'd be, if something's in my head, it's like, okay, is there a balance there or not? I would challenge them with some questions, clarifying questions.
So it's not like a direct statement, like, I think you're bullshitting me.
No, never.
Exactly.
No. People would get defensive, and it's just conversational.
Yeah. Okay.
In a sense, yeah.
Let's dig into this champion mindset.
Yeah.
What is, like, if you could define that, what does that really mean?
The champion mindset is you have nothing in your head that is a conflict.
Okay.
And you know exactly who you are. You know exactly how you fit in the world. You know exactly what your purpose is. And when you don't have any conflicts in your head, your body's not going to be punished because of that. Okay? And, these conflicts could happen based on your spiritual beliefs and everything. So, I'm in tune with my spiritual beliefs. I understand, this is what I believe. I'm okay with it. I don't care what that person believes. I don't care if they don't believe what I believe. And I know who I am. I'm okay with that. And, I'm intuitive with my body. And I build up the key thing too is you will find if you have a champion mindset, you will have resilience that you never thought you could achieve in mind, body, and soul. And so from a body standpoint, like I said, I'm over 60. So I was playing baseball earlier in the year, and I'm pitching, and a ball came back and was probably close to 100 miles an hour. It hit the inside of my thigh.
Damn.
I knew how hard it hit. I knew exactly what it was going to look like. I picked up the ball, and I threw it to first. I got the guy out.
Nice.
Because it dropped right on the mound. It hit so hard, it just dropped. And, okay, so there's and I knew it was going to be like a huge egg.
Yeah.
Bigger, about the size of a baseball. And it was, the deepest, darkest purple that you would ever see. At that point, I was in tune with my body. I knew I was basically I was okay. I knew it didn't hit any bone or anything. I knew, I could walk fine, and I wasn't going to have to go anywhere and see anybody. So, but it was ugly looking. If anybody else saw that, they go see a doctor.
Sure.
And so, but I healed in, 2 or 3 weeks. Is actually, is gone. There's a slight indent now from where it was because it was, severe blunt trauma. But, I pitched, the rest of the inning. I pitched another inning. I actually put on catcher's gear. I caught 2 more innings. The next day I played 6 games of pickleball.
Dang.
It didn't stop me because I'm very in tune with my body, and I knew I wasn't hurt. And I knew I didn't need to see anybody. So this resilience that I have in my body, that's easy to show because I could show it through a picture. I've shown that in presentations of how black and blue and ugly it was. But the resilience that I have now in my body, because I've fallen off my bike and stuff too about a year ago, and the resilience in my body is better than even when I was in my 20s.
That's nice.
So...
And you feel that's because of your mind?
Yes. It's all because of my mind. There are things that I do that transcend science. And I wouldn't say, this is a disclaimer for anybody listening, I am not saying don't listen to your physician. Don't ever blame me for not listening to your physician. But I use physicians as guidelines. And so the things that I do... I drink more soda pop than anybody around. I'm out in the sun, no sunblock. And I can tell you, my doctor was talking to me the other day. He said, your cholesterol has been over 200 the last couple times, so we might have to think about getting you on medicine. And so I can tell you, I eat more processed foods. I eat more cheese. I eat more fried foods. I eat more sugar than anybody you know.
Interesting.
And guess what my cholesterol did this last time?
I'm guessing it went down.
It went down below 200.
And that's because, are you visualizing that? Are you
I'm in tune.
affirming to yourself?
I change my diet based on how I feel. If I eat a whole piece of cake and I'm okay with it, I'm fine with that. I'll go eat some more ice cream.
Sure.
And I don't eat anything because somebody told me it's healthy. I eat it because my body likes it. I like salads. I like lettuce. Sure. I'm sure that does something good for me. But my body likes it, and I'll eat a salad. But then again, I'll go eat half of a cake too. Yeah. So, or I'll go eat some, fried chicken or whatever it is. And so I'm not telling the audience to go eat a bunch of crap.
Unless you can believe.
But I can eat, and I don't think it's crap though. That's what the problem is. So I hear so many people say, I'm going to eat that cupcake. But, I really shouldn't.
If you say that, that's why you shouldn't.
That's why you shouldn't. Your mind is going to punish your body every single time.
Definitely.
If you have a conflict and you feel guilty about something, say you said something mean to somebody, that's going to show up somewhere physically in your body. That continued conflict. Go say you're sorry. Go make go do something that resolves the issue. Let it go.
Yeah.
Because it will manifest somewhere in your body. I have worked with people, and when they have released their fear, shame, guilt, I've worked with them, It's amazing. Sometimes somebody they had 6 years of chronic pain in their back from an accident. And when their mind was all healed, but guess what? No more pain in their back.
That's fascinating to me. And this idea, this concept, I feel is gaining traction in the mainstream. Like that book I mentioned to you earlier, The Body Keeps the Score, I think was maybe the biggest turning point where people started picking up on that. And really, it deals more with like, capital T trauma that then manifests itself in people's bodies. And when they can actually finally address that, magically the physical body begins to heal, which is so fascinating to me. I love it.
Yeah, and my technique that I use, I can help somebody transform in a very short time. It's 5 or less sessions.
Wow.
And it can be spread out as long or as short as you want. And that last session is a cutting of like your running parachutes or the trauma or whatever has held you back. We identify it very clearly, and it's a technique that I use that allows you to let go of it forever. And it's little or no pain. It's not like intense therapy sessions or I'm dunking you underwater or something, It is just a conversation back and forth and a technique of working with the powers of the mind and helping you to understand that you do have control over yourself.
Yeah. Is it possible to elaborate a little bit to help have a bit more understanding? Like, how can you achieve it, in a short time without pain?
Yeah. Because it's all conversational, Danny. There's 3 phases.
Okay.
And the first is discovery, really getting to know who you are and understanding and having clarity of the outcome that you'd like. The next is uncover, and that is really chunking down, getting to the detail of what has been formative in your life, events, people, and continuing to use intuitive, insight into understanding how the person has been affected their whole life by these things. And then the last phase is going through a technique and addressing all of those things, but in a way that is not scary or uncomfortable. It's just a matter of facing them, and I'm there, helping them through that process.
Yeah.
And there's actually, a part where you actually visualize cutting of those cords and then destroying that parachute that is a part of all the issues that are holding you back to the best version of yourself.
Yeah, and the metaphor there is like a running parachute that you use to add
like
resistance.
when trainers, it makes them stronger, the running parachute. But the typical person, it's not making us stronger. It's keeping us getting to where we want to go at the speed that we need to get there. Or we can't get there because it tires us out so badly.
Yeah, and interesting, like the reason one would train with the parachute is so that when it's not there, you're so much faster.
Yeah.
And there's almost a sense of the bigger your parachute is or the more it's holding you back, the more potential you have if you can cut those cords.
Yeah, and, we just, until we get rid of those cords, because so many people think they're victims, this is their cross to bear. This, they need to be a martyr of sorts, and this is their identity.
Yeah.
There are things that you can accomplish that you didn't think you could accomplish once you let these things go. There's a version of yourself that exists that is this version that you can develop your superpowers, basically. And that I love it when there's a turning point through the coaching sessions that a light bulb goes off. And I've had several of these patients, clients say, I didn't know I could think differently.
Wow. That's got to be the moment for you.
Yeah, and that was the moment for me too, personally. Being so conservative and so square in the beginning, I was like, that's not even possible. I'm this Christian and I can't think differently, and there's no way. And I have to do all these things, and what my parents said about me is all true, and this is who I am. And wow. And I just found when you put the energy into mindset and protecting your mindset, that's where it's at. And you can use the container of protecting your mindset, and you can use it as, you can say, is my meditation helping my mindset? Yes or no? Is the fact that I go for walks, is that helping my mindset? Yes or no? Is having date nights helping my mindset and the conflicts in my head?
Yeah.
Whatever it is, and whatever the modality is, because I find out all these modalities, whether it be sound healings or meditation or cryogenic chambers or whatever it is, or red light therapy, they're all Band-Aids in a sense. Okay,
like
they
treating
make you,
symptoms.
They kind of, yeah, they're treating symptoms. But do you want to treat the root cause? That's what I get at. I help you get at the root cause.
Yeah.
My background is operations consulting. I started out as a decision support analyst. What that means is I help people make decisions based on research and analysis. And so I become, in the business world, I become very adept at looking at root cause.
Yeah.
So I do that on a personal level. And you said also, how do you find out, like, who you are? I regularly do SWOT analysis on myself. That's looking at your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats.
Yeah.
I also look at success factors. What does it take to be successful? What are those factors? And then barriers. And so I often help people get over their barriers, because you can't really set goals until you address your barriers. Barriers could be addictions, they could be phobias, they could be certain things. And so that's also another kind of a step in, it's kind of, it shows itself in the, discovery and uncovery part.
Yeah.
And so if you really want to know yourself, you look at your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Also prioritize in each of those areas. So what was amazing, like when I did my unconditional love, when I decided to really love myself, so many of my weaknesses became strengths.
Yeah.
So I had 10 strengths and 25 weaknesses. I had like 13, 14 of those weaknesses become strengths all of a sudden.
Wow. So thinking about the SWOT analysis, and you mentioned how people can use personality tests earlier in the conversation. Is that something that you pull into the coaching container to? I can.
It's not a part of my current this transformation, this very fast, little or no pain transformation that I can help people achieve. That could be something that maybe we do as a maintenance type of coaching down the line. And that's something that I was doing initially before I learned this technique. And this technique is so simple. It's great because I think simple is more powerful than anything. I have a master's degree. I'm fairly intelligent. I finished my curriculum for my MBA before I was 23 years old.
Dang.
And so, I graduated top 20% of my MBA class. So I can, understand, a lot of these concepts and a lot of the, the details of certain approaches. But gosh, simple is so much better. If you could do it simple, that's what I always look for. I call, a lot of what I do, I try to, like, how would Forrest Gump be successful doing this? He was, he loved people. He supported people. But gosh, it's a simple approach that makes the best, the most success. So I try to use that in terms of helping people understand and move forward. And that's where the technique is powerful. But if you want to learn more about yourself and really get down to the details of understanding who you are, happy to help people, go through a SWOT of who they are and then continue to refine that, because it's really incredible when I did it for myself.
Yeah, I asked because it's a recent interest of mine, this concept of personality tests, and I'm kind of honing in on, there's just so many of them, and I'm trying to learn how to integrate them into one and take more of them. And I haven't done a SWOT on myself in a while, so I'm glad you mentioned that, because that'd be fun to look back into. I think it would also be great to give kids personality tests or young people, and just kind of check in over time and see how which things stay the same, which things shift, and if patterns emerge, things like that. Let's see. To go from here, I think I want to ask you the signature question that I ask everybody.
Okay.
So, and you can look at it through the lens of mindset coaching or, your spirituality, whatever you want. If you could snap your fingers and everybody in the world tomorrow wakes up with a new belief of your choosing implanted in their mind, what would you choose to implant in their minds, or just their soul? Like, it's a soul-centered belief. What would you choose? And then, of course, why?
It's that Beatles song.
All
you need is love.
All you need is love. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And care to elaborate at all?
Sure. When I feel that connection to people, and that when people are truly healing, that's the frequency, and that's what I feel is love.
Mm-hmm. Amazing. All right. So we've definitely covered a champion mindset and almost pain-free way to get people to have a quick transformation. So now let's talk about how people can get a hold of you to learn more and work with you directly.
Okay. Gary Sellergren, and that's Sellergren. And a quick way is Gary@mycaps.com. Okay. And that's caps with a K.
Right.
It stands for My Kick-Ass Problem Solver. So it's Gary, Gary, at mykaps.com.
Right.
And I'll even give out my phone number. It's 312-399-5921.
Right on. Very bold of you.
Yeah.
Only the second guest to give out their phone number.
Yeah. If you want to troll me, go ahead. But, I'm here to help people, and I want to be accessible.
Amazing. Well, Gary, I appreciate your time and, sharing your insight with us. And yeah, I'm looking forward to see, the next steps for you with this.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Danny. This has been a real honor and a pleasure, and you've asked very good questions. It made me really have to reflect on the answers.
Good deal. Until next time.
Yes, until next time. Thank you.